Good evening, Mustangs fans. Josh Sherman here, voice of the Peoria Mustangs. A fresh episode of Around the Stable Coach Show, as you can see, joined this week by co-head coach Blake Ortman. Blake, seems like it's been forever with this road trip. How are things going at the old Owen Center?
Oh, they're going good. We got back to work this week, and I think we kind of got back to the basics of our structure and really hammered down on the small details of our game that I think need a lot of improvement. And we're hoping to just start building and start a new streak up here.
Big series coming up this weekend up in Rochester, Minnesota. We'll chew a little fat on that later. First things first, up in Milwaukee, West Bend, Wisconsin this past weekend, series split. Overall, what was the coach's evaluation of the boys' performance this weekend up in West Bend?
I think we played 2 periods on Friday, which was enough for us to get a win in overtime. I think on Saturday we didn't show up until the third period, and it obviously showed. I think we got completely outplayed for the first 2 periods, and then we dominated the third period. And I think the shots were 19-4, but the damage is already done, so there was really no coming back. And sometimes hockey guys don't really let you win when you don't deserve the win. So I don't think we deserved the win Saturday, but overall, winning 9 out of our last 10, you can't be too upset as a coach.
That is absolutely right. Won 9 of the last 10. Friday night fell down by 2 goals in the first period. Late in the first, Ethan Chesney putting one in the back of the net. Kind of seemed like it ignited the guys a little bit, and the tempo picked up there, especially through that second period. No scoring in the second period. In that second period, though, Joe Ambrofi coming up huge, making some good quality saves. How did Joe react coming out of that? I mean, the first period, you could tell the first goal, he was kind of like, and then that second period, a huge response from Joe.
Yeah, I think he wanted that one back in the first period, and I'm sure a lot of goalies let some in that they're not, that they're not liking, and at the end of the day, they have the hardest position. I mean, if a defenseman or a forward mess up, a lot of times you do have your goalie to backstop you, and if a goalie messes up, it's in the net. So their mistakes are a lot more noticeable, and it is what it is. He bounced back and played a great second for us, held us in there, and gave us an opportunity to come back and win the game in the third. And we did just that. We tied it up in the third, and then ended up taking it in overtime.
And that third period, Perry Lagatu's tying things up early. Kind of a soldier of fortune goal watching it on television. Perry Lagatu's, the puck just came to him. He just spun and put it on net. And as they say, if you throw the puck towards the net, good things happen. Obviously, that is a cursor to that as Perry Lagatu's tying things up. Milwaukee regained the lead 15:36 in the period. Jacob Bland tying it up again. And it seemed that Bland goal, it kind of did the same thing the Chesney goal did. It just reignited everybody. Unfortunately, in that final 5 minutes, the boys not able to put anything in the back of the net, but Addie Powell wastes no time. 12 seconds into overtime. Is that something you guys had drawn up in that little breather there between regulation and overtime, or was it just the puck went to Addie and he said, I've got this, you guys just watch?
Well, we talked about, we'd worked on all week because Milwaukee's a team that's been in overtime quite a bit this year. So they have that experience. So that's why we were working on it all week. And then, you just look over and see who they're going to put on the ice, and they went with their top guys. And, unfortunately, sometimes top guys tend to not really care too much about defense. So we talked about just attacking early, and we put Chesney, Bland, and Powell out. Those are all guys that can skate and move. And we thought maybe we could catch them quick. And I wasn't thinking we were going to catch him that quick, but Addie's a phenomenal skater and made no mistakes and got us the win.
Yeah, and as we talked about, Joe in goal there. Another good start, quality start for Joe. Stopped 43 of 40. Joe's putting together a pretty good winning streak. Moving forward, looking at Joe and how he's performed, how is the coaching staff feeling about the way he's performing and just continually piling up wins and making big saves?
We have no problems with Joe. I think we're just happy he keeps doing what he's doing, and Joe has great work ethic, and he's a great Mustang. So we know we're going to get a Joe every night. I'm sure here and there, like we said earlier, there's a few that he wants back, but at the end of the day, we're very happy with Joe and our goaltending as a whole.
And then fast forward a little bit, Saturday night, just couldn't seem to get anything off the hop, as you mentioned it there Saturday as well. First period, a goal allowed, and then second period, a pair of goals. 6:01 of the third period, it seemed like when Perry Lagatu scored the lone goal for the Mustangs, it seemed like things were picking up. They just couldn't crack, and get another one in the back of the net. How did you assess that game from a standpoint of the way the guys played from start to finish?
We started the first 7 minutes of the game. I think we played really good, smart hockey. We took the foot off the gas for some reason, and I'm not sure why we didn't have a lead or anything. And a lot of times with kids, when they get a lead, they take the foot off the gas, but that wasn't even the case in this situation. And we didn't really show back up until the third. And I think by that point it was 3-0. And once we started the third period, we completely dominated the game, which is how we should have been playing the whole time. And Perry gets us a little bit of momentum with that goal, and then we let up kind of a weaker goal, and Such definitely wanted that one back, and it just kind of kills the win in your sails. And yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, the hockey gods, they're real, and we weren't supposed to win that game with how we played.
And as you mentioned, Casey Yamada stopped 34 of 38, his first loss of the season. And again, like you said, in that third period, if he could have got the one back, he would have definitely liked it back. But he's also been playing outstanding through this stretch run, especially in this long road trip sequence in the dog days of the season.
Absolutely. Like I said, we have no problem with our goaltending. We know we're going to get out of them every night, and that's not a position that we really worry too much about. And we're more worried about just getting everyone else on the same page and being consistent.
And as I mentioned, segueing into this weekend coming up, heading up to Rochester, Minnesota, the first of 3 trips to the state of Minnesota in the month of December. Heading up to Rochester, something that sticks out in the standings here, 597 penalty minutes for this Mustang squad. They lead the division. Rochester down with only 268. What's it like getting these guys ready to go up in a building like Rochester and just have discipline and not make silly mistakes and get those penalties?
Well, it definitely makes very interesting coaching tactics, because you're not going to get too many calls up there, and they're a pretty disciplined team, and it always seems to go their way because of the way they work and the way they play. So you just got to stick to your structure and kind of stay out of the crap after the whistles and stuff like that, and give yourself the best opportunity to win. I think if you live in the box all night in that building, they're gonna punish you, and they're gonna score every single time. So it's just being smart and kind of playing discipline like Rochester does.
And looking at, we mentioned earlier, the last 10, Peoria 9-1-0 in their last 10, Rochester 6-3-1. They've lost 3 of their last 5, including 3 straight prior to that. How do you think the Rochester's going to react to that with Peoria coming in? And they know, what you're going to get when you have this series. You're going to get good hockey regardless. But how do you think the boys are going to react knowing Rochester's kind of vulnerable and a wounded duck right now?
Well, I don't think I think we have to just worry about ourselves and how we're going to play. I think that's the only thing we can really worry about with this team, and just kind of building in the right direction. And I've never seen a game where Rochester never showed up to play against Peoria, so we know that we're going to get their best game. We always do, and I think that's the way we would want it. And I think that's why they're always such good games. So our guys have to show up on time, and I think Rochester's going to come out pretty hungry.
Always been a good series, and Blake, you and I have talked about it before, especially the games, our first season during COVID and the rituals we had. Just went back through some of my stuff that I've had. This Mustangs team has not won a game at the Rochester Recreational Center since January 22nd of 2021. That includes all last season, 0-4-0 up there last season. Is that something that some of these guys have been around for this period of time? Is that something you think they're thinking about last season with the not being able to win up there in Rochester?
Well, I'd like to think they're really smart and they think of that kind of stuff, but I don't know. I think they know it's a really hard building to play in. I don't think they could tell you that they lost all 4 last year, which is a good thing. I think that adds a little more pressure on yourself, and it kind of gets the nerves going a little bit. So hopefully they're not thinking about that too much. They're just thinking about going in, playing 60 minutes the first night, and reassessing after that, and hopefully getting a couple wins this weekend, back on track, and like I said earlier, starting a new streak, and just start playing really good hockey. Right now, that's all we're worried about, is what direction our team's heading in. I think there's a few wins on our little win streak that you're winning those games, but you don't really deserve to, and you're not playing the right way. So as a coaching staff, I think we would just like to see our guys playing the right way and making strides towards that end of the season goal, which is obviously winning a championship and going far in the playoffs.
And as a coach heading up to a building like Rochester, the young men that have never been up there, how do you prepare them for what they're going into up in Rochester?
I think you can't really prepare them too much. I think you just have to let them kind of figure it out on their own, because I think if you psych them out, with our new guys that are as young as they are, I think it would do more damage to kind of psych them out than anything. You obviously can talk to your veterans and guys that have played in that building before, and they know what's going on there. So I'm sure they're doing their due diligence and filling those guys in. But for us, it's just preparing for another weekend of hockey, and it doesn't matter what rink we're playing in. We just got to play the Mustang way.
Well, best of luck up in Rochester, Minnesota this weekend. As I mentioned, the first of 3 trips. Is that something too that weighs on the guys a little bit, that they know they're going to make this trip to Rochester one more time at the end of the month of December and then be right on the doorstep of Rochester with the NA3HL showcase? Is that something that weighs on their mind too, with the road weariness of that longer road trip?
No, I think they're young, and they love the road and they love the bus. So for them, it's fun, and they get to be with each other. And obviously for us as coaches, you've been on a bus a million times in your life, and you're like, just another weekend on the bus. And we're lucky enough that we don't have to have our knees jammed in the back of charter seats anymore, and we get to have a nice seat on the bus. But at the end of the day, it's just logging miles on the bus for the coaching staff, and the players get to enjoy themselves and be with each other and be in close quarters for a while and hang out in the hotel, and hopefully pick up a couple wins on the way. So I don't think I really think too much into that stuff.
All right, Mustangs fans, that's all the time we have for tonight. Blake, once again, thank you for taking the time here on Around the Stable Coaches Show. Mustangs fans, don't forget this weekend a pair of games up in Rochester, Minnesota, the 2nd and 3rd of December. Both those games slated for 7:05 starts. You can catch all of the action on Hockey TV or by following along on Mustang social media. Blake, thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. I want to give a quick shout out to our guys too. I think, everyone's seen our social medias and stuff. They've been really active in the Stuff a Bus Foundation, and I don't think they get as much recognition as they deserve sometimes, because they've been out in the community quite a bit, and as well as the Riverman team. So they've been working hard, and they gave back to the city of Peoria, even though a lot of them aren't from here. So I'm personally am very proud of those guys, and I just wanted to say thanks to those guys and everyone who helped donate to the Stuff a Bus Foundation.
I'm glad you segued into that before we close here. Yeah, I'd also like to thank, the Riverman fans that came out and donated. I think it was absolutely awesome that they blew the 11-ton goal completely out of the water. So a huge thank you to the Mustangs fans that donated. And like you said, the boys going out and doing the donation runs at the Kroger there in Peoria is just fantastic. And then working hard this week, loading the bus and getting that. So that is all on our social medias. If you missed that, Mustangs fans, go check it out. It's Facebook and Twitter. As for that, also, if you want to keep up to date, keep up with our YouTube page. So go give that a subscription. Blake, thank you. Greatly appreciate it. And best of luck this weekend up in Rochester.
Thanks, Josh.
This is Around the Stable Coaches Show.